I just want to say really quick that I think that this style of shot has got to be one of the most silly shots. Like, don't we all know that we have to turn around and come back and get the camera? I get that it's an iconic shot, but like, honestly, stop leaving your camera behind. Right, short day today. Also cold day today. If you can't tell by the attire, it's a far cry from the last few days. We're waking up, I don't even know temperature.
It was gorgeous and warm. This is not.
This is very, very cold. We're only gonna do like 7.5 miles today to like the next shelter because we want to. There's some certain places that we're gonna try to make a stop in to do some stuff. One of those being a drive-in theater that we're gonna aim to hit on Saturday, but unfortunately it's raining Saturday.
We'll see what happens.
Let's see what happens. But yeah, easy day, cold day. Fun. Trevor, sure, what does it do?
Right. It helps the ATC and the New Jersey Trail Conference keep track of people on the trail and know that the trail's being used. So like,
if you don't stay at a shelter, you can at least sign this thing.
Yeah, and also it's just like to track usage of the trail. So like if it's had a heavy couple months, they can like concentrate efforts. So I'm gonna fill it out.
I have never been more sure about what I want to eat in a restaurant as soon as I walk in than when I've been hiking the AT.
I'm hungry.
What?
I was hungry.
Mm-hmm. Great news, everybody. Maybe tonight, a freeze warning. A freeze is coming. You know what that might mean? No ticks. No ticks. No ticks. No, say it with me. No ticks. No ticks. No ticks. You want to talk first? Who talks first? I talk first, you talk first.
I'll talk first.
You talk first?
I'm talking first.
All right.
We're at 300 miles, people.
300 miles! We just met somebody in town that said that was the point in which, it was a no-bower, that was the point they realized they were no longer trying, they were doing.
They were doing.
We said that about Pennsylvania though.
View.
This is the view, the 300-mile view. Well, it's our 300-mile view. It's not a view for 300 miles. Semantics. Which means only 2 more miles to shelter on this very small 300-mile day.
Look, gotta take the breaks when you can.
Take the breaks when you can. It's not our fault. It's Wolfram's fault. Making us do this terrible 7-mile day. It's okay. We needed it.
We needed it.
It turns out Madeline and I both met a 2-time Olympic silver medalist for racing catamarans, Randy Smythe. His boat is the boat that they crashed in the remake of Thomas Crown Affair with Pierce Brosnan. That's what he told us. We were like talking about terrible movies, and he's like, "Oh, that's my boat they crashed." And I was like, "No way." I finally did some research, and it was him.
It's unbelievable.
Madeline believed him.
I mean, I was like, yeah, it could totally be his boat. I mean, hobbyists, have their stuff in films all the time, but he's not a hobbyist. He's a professional.
Alright, all packed up, leaving the Gren Anderson campsite where Wayfinder says last night, I didn't hear it, but something was sniffing around the tent. She said very loud sniffs, and then went somewhere else. Someone else had to yell it off as well. No idea what it was. Alright, we talked to some hikers around camp, and rumor has it, it was in fact a bear, but more like a panda, the trash type. So, a small bear.
Clarify, a raccoon.
Clarify a raccoon, yes, a trash panda. In this case, I guess it's a tent panda. Apparently it's pretty common at this particular shelter. It likes to come around and investigate all the tents. So fairly harmless, but apparently very loud. And, you know, scary at night, right? You don't know what's sniffing around on the outside of your tent. Could be anything. Get the thing out of there. Also new this morning, fresh laces. Had to finally retire the ones from last night. They were starting to get pretty frayed. I had patched them in a few places by tying them together, but I tie pretty tight, so they eventually wore out 300 miles in. Would you look at that? We've got some missing tread here. And I can tell you, this is not from just wearing it down, because I still got plenty over here. This is some good old rock damage coming in and just ripping it right off. And then if we look at the other foot, well, would you look at that? A flaw in the shoe, you might say. So while Keens have been fairly comfortable, for me at least, the laces have shredded. The grip ripped. Some of the laces still shredding. And yours,
Destroyed.
you already know about those.
Okay, so we just finished visiting Sunrise Mountain, and it has a pavilion and a parking lot. And from the name, Sunrise Mountain, you'd think you could visit at sunrise, but no. The parking lot and pavilion doesn't open until 8 a.m. and closes at 10 p.m. So,
Mr. Shat.
gotta hike here if you want to see sunrise. So.
What you got there?
I got some leaf tea. I got some brown leaf juice.
Some cold leaf juice?
Some cold leaf juice.
Unlike, as opposed to hot leaf juice?
Not hot leaf juice. It doesn't taste very good.
That's what all tea is! Hot leaf juice. I gotta say, the pink privy is nice, warm, and welcoming, and I've been digging the skylights that have been in the last view. I'm taking a break at the shelter for like 3 minutes. I've already banged my head twice. Make that thrice. Hey, this is a overlook near High Point Park. That obelisk over there is High Point Tower, I believe it is, or High Point Obelisk. Basically, that's the tallest spot in New Jersey. It's not as tall as we've already hiked. Our tallest is 2,060 something, just after like Fayetteville, Pennsylvania. I can't remember what the height is on this one.
17 something?
Wayfinder says 17 something. Anyway, this is kind of the view from the deck. We are going to be going up that way. There's a blue blaze that passes by it, and so we'll go ahead and take it up. We probably leave our packs at the bottom and climb up. I'm told you can get to the very top of the obelisk, but the view isn't that much different, so I'm probably not going to climb 200 steps. I've done enough of that. So Wayfinder's already heard this story, but I thought I'd share, and she'll want to hear it again anyway, because apparently it's funny. So sometimes when you're hiking, there's, you're tired, and so you're breathing through your mouth, right? You're exhausted. And there's also, plants that hang over the side of the trail. So you're like, oh, I gotta dodge this, dodge that. Well, sometimes, because you're tired, you don't dodge so good, so it like whacks you. But sometimes, since you're tired, or at least for me, since you're tired, I'm tired, and I'm breathing through my mouth, it'll whack me right in the mouth. But then like, I'm like, and I don't want to like close my mouth because I got plant in it, and I'm holding my pole so I can't move it. So really the plant just like, for like a foot and a half, just like rubs through my mouth. Apparently,
This doesn't happen to me.
this is just a me issue. So, does anybody else experience this that hikes? I don't know. Let me know if I'm alone.
You're alone.
Or if you share in my misery of eating plants.
You're the wrong height for plants.
They can't all be the same height. There's different heights of plants.
I mean, look, you're just the wrong height for
We're
it.
not a swamp planet. We've got other ecosystems. One other thing about the obelisk overlook, I'm gonna put a graphic right here real quick. What is that? What is this thing? What am I supposed to be doing here? That's not what it looks like down there. All right, we have made it to the alleged highest point in New Jersey. More view. I'm not convinced it was worth walking, but here we are. Alright, I'm pretty sure you can see the tower. Well, I don't know if you can see on the phone, but we can see the tower from where we were just looking at High Point. Trying to center the camera on there now. Should just be, right. Highest point, Kidney Ridge, Appalachian Mountain Range, the rock that forms it, it's called a conglomerate. It's very hard rock and resistant to erosion. No. No more pointy rocks. No more pointy rocks after High Point. Them's the rules. It's what all the previous no-bowers told us. Well, while it is simply more and more and more view, I'll at least give it this much. You can see a lot from up here. Alright, we've made it to night shelter. We are at the High Point shelter. We're going to be tenting though. We just prefer to tent. It's actually a really nice shelter. As you can see, like all the walls are stone with the ceiling. It's pretty fresh, new wood. I would say solid, 8 out of 10 shelter.
Yeah.
The thing that has been weirding us out about a lot of the shelters in Jersey, while the bear boxes are really nice, they're also all really close to the shelter. I don't know if that's a problem or not, which is weird because all of the shelters, as you can see behind me, have these bear notices that are hey, bears are active in this area. So I don't really know what they were thinking there. On the on a related note, let's scoot over here. Speaking of tenting and how we like to prefer a tent instead of shelter, I wanted to talk about our hostel thoughts.
Okay. Yeah.
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 Because a lot of times, so when we first started the trail, we met somebody and they were kind of mentioned because we were tenting outside a hostel, and they mentioned, well, are you really staying at a hostel if you're tenting outside the hostel? And it kind of seems like most people prefer to stay inside the hostel, because you get the bed, right? That's I think that's the big allure.
Well, you get a bunk.
You get a bunk.
It's not really a bed.
A few of the beds most of the beds have been quite comfy that I've seen.
Sure. Okay.
Well, no, I guess the church hostels, the beds have been meh, but church hostels also have, as Wolfram would say, a vibe each, and they're all pretty solid.
They're also pretty much the cheapest option, so you can't really expect.
And the nicest, actually.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's on a tangent. Church hostels though always seem to be a little bit nicer than some of the as far as we've seen.
Yeah.
The actual hostels. Anyway, the point is, we normally tent if we can go to a hostel if they have that option, because we like the privacy and we like to kind of hang out together. And if you're in a bunk area, you can't really do that. And so, but we got to thinking, well,
most people probably like the bunk and like to go inside because you get that, especially from a no-boer starting in Georgia perspective, you get that party social aspect. And also, I think this is what you were about to probably say, if you're hiking alone, you don't want to just sit out in your tent alone. You want to go inside and talk to people.
Exactly.
Right? But we're not hiking alone.
It's also cheaper. So, like, for a no-boat or solo, let's say it's $25 per bunk and you get that social experience versus tenting for $15.
Yeah, 10 extra bunks, you get a bed.
Right, but for us two, it would have been $50 to be inside as opposed to $15 outside in our tent. So, from a cost savings perspective, we're not missing out on any of the social aspect because we can go inside, hang out in the living room, cook, hang out, eat food, but we don't have to sleep in the same room as everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we thought that was an interesting kind of like, aspect of couples hiking versus like, hiking by yourself, right? Because even if you're hiking by yourself in a trail family, right, you're probably all still going to want to, if you all go to the hostel together, you're probably all going to crash the bunk room, right?
Yeah, you're going to crash the bunk room for sure. You're going to fill it up. So, yeah.
Anyway, I don't know. If you're a hiker, tell us what you think about hostels in the comments. Like, subscribe.
Water filtering thought. A thought I have while filtering water. What is Alvin if it's Alvin and the chipmunks? Is Alvin not a chipmunk?